So it's 3:31 and our vice chair is here. Do you want to give it a minute, Karen McDaniels, or do you want to go ahead and start now?
I want to give it a minute.
Okay. It's good to see everybody's face. Hi, Eric Johnson. Hi, Kim Johnson.
Hey, Lenarda, how are you?
Good, good.
Hello.
Hello. I hope everybody enjoyed the summer break. Was it too good? Can never be too good.
I'm just grateful I didn't need a personal fan outside this morning when I took my dogs out. So it was so nice.
Good, good. All right, Karen, it's 3:32. You want to go ahead and start?
Yes, first, I would like to welcome everyone to the meeting today. And just
I think Karen's microphone has gone out. Can you guys hear me? Okay, well, I'll just pick up for Karen. Welcome everyone to the Supportive Services Subcommittee. Hopefully we'll get our our Vice Chair Karen McDaniels back with us shortly. Our chair, Bernadette McAllister, works at Wake Tech, and she is with a student right now, so we are just filling in other spots. So thank you everyone for being here. Before we get started, if I can get you to go ahead and put your name, your email address, and the agency you represent in the chat box. I'll give you a minute to do that. And while you're doing that, just so you know, the meeting is being recorded. All right, so hopefully everyone's got their information in. Karen, are you with us?
yes, I apologize. Delivery came to the door. I apologize for that.
So do you want to go ahead and go over the general meeting rules for us?
Yes. As Ms. Lenarda was saying, that this meeting is being recorded, and please continue to type your name and contact information in the chat box to join the conversation. And if you're on Zoom, please select the raise your hand feature if you would like to state anything. And if you're using a phone, use the *6 mute to unmute and *9 to raise your hand.
Thank you. All right. So in creating today's agenda, I talked with our chair, co-chair, and we decided that since today is our anniversary meeting, woohoo, the subcommittees have been meeting for a year as of this meeting today. So I'm really excited. So in honor of today's meeting, we wanted to go back and reflect on what we have accomplished in the past year. So since our first meeting on September 24th, 2020, we have selected a chair and vice chair. We've identified 7 re-entry focused priority areas, and this is the work that we have been doing all this year. We have completed priority area number 1, and that was develop a healthcare provider list that includes health care providers that provide services at a discount or free services or provide services for the uninsured. That list went out. You guys should have received it on yesterday. So it reached 212 different individuals. And of the 212 individuals, 9 of them are our housing partners. So just to recap, this came about because we had some housing partners that expressed interest in having this resource. Where do I go? Where do I send my clients to? And so this is what you guys decided when we voted last year on what are the priority areas that we wanted to focus on, and we came up with a list of 7. And if you wanted to know what those 7 are, if you just go back and look at your agenda, the 7 priority areas are always on the agenda. They're grayed out until we're working on them. And it looks like 6, but you'll notice, I think it's number 4. Yeah, number 4 has actually two priorities in that particular one. In addition to that, we've expanded our network toolbox. So that means that we had a presentation given to us by our own Eric Johnson on the Wake Network of Care. So if you weren't able to join that meeting, of course, you can go and look at our YouTube page. But just to recap, Eric described it as a Google for Wake County for different resources, not specifically reentry, but for all resources. So that presentation, it was prior to May, may have been March, don't get me wrong, but just go to that YouTube page and you can look up that that particular meeting and look at that presentation. Hopefully, as a result of that presentation, some of you have taken the liberty to sign up for your organization, your agency, if you're not there, or even updated your information. And finally, at our last meeting, which was in May, we began the work of identifying priority area number 2, ways that we can support mentoring and peer support needs. So when we selected the 7 priority areas last year, we came up with terms and specific things. And so one of the areas that were one of the priority areas was identified was mentoring and peer support. We didn't put any meat around it. So we began that last May, this past last meeting, and we had a presentation from our Derek Bird from Triangle Family Resources. Is that right? Did I say that right, Derek? I know you're going to kill me. Yeah. And then we had another presentation on mentoring and peer support from Fathers Forever. We were also fortunate to have IPMW's Jennifer Jackson. She weighed in very heavily. So we began that conversation, and you guys may remember at that last meeting, we talked about following up. But once following up and expanding that, coming up with some solutions. But when we looked at what we had accomplished, we felt like not what we had accomplished, what we discussed, and revisiting that video, it felt like we were rushing through it. So we wanted to come back today and see if we got everything there that we wanted to include in the area of mentoring and peer support. So just to recap, I'll ask Karen if you're here, or if Bernadette's with us, to go ahead, and if you'll go and read 1 through 5 for us. This is the list of things that we decided that we wanted to see what we can do in the area of mentoring and peer support. So if I can get Bernadette or Karen to read this list. And before we do that, I want to make sure everyone's clear and is everyone following me? Do we know how we got to this point right here today? I don't hear anyone speaking, so I'm going to take that as a yes. All right. All right. So Karen McDaniels, could you please read 1 through 5?
Okay, number 1 is help identifying housing and employment for individuals. And number 2 is transportation resources needed to get people to work, and basic needs resources. And number 3, funds for legal fines. And number 4, create opportunities for newly trained peer support specialists to get work experience. And number 5 is family reunification is an issue for females. Women can't focus of themselves when this is an issue.
I think that's a typo. I think it says the women can't focus on themselves. So so these are the things that we talked about. And you see number 6 here, that's in gray, because that's not something that we particularly came up as a group with, but after revisiting the video, the team got together and we saw this was something that was specifically said from either Glenn Warren or Derek Bird from Triangle Family Services of South Atlantic. So I wanted to, hopefully you guys are remembering that conversation, and I wanted to see if there's anything else we wanted to add, and then look at the list and see what other solutions that we can come up with, that this work group within our purview, to address either all or some. It may be one solution that addresses many of the concerns. So I'd like to open the floor for anyone to share anything in addition that we could add to this list to support those that are already doing the work in the area of mentoring and peer support.
Leonardo, if I may,
Please.
this is Norman. Just really quick, I know you asked me to wait to the announcements, but this particular item here fits us to a T.
But I'm sorry, I just want to make sure it's going to be for this, not an event announcement. Okay, great. Thank you.
It is. We do have support, and that's what we do, is we help prepare people for reentry into society, back into society from prisons, as well as help educate other people who are outside the walls or having particular issues with meshing into society well. And that's what we do to help prepare them for work. And we partner with Jobs for Life. So I'll wait for the rest of it till later. But it fits upon this in terms of helping people find work and so forth and so on.
Yeah, so I'm glad you spoke up, Norm, because I thought about you when I saw your face, because I knew the work that you did, and you did a presentation for us earlier. Can you share some of the concerns that your peer support specialists or those that are actually doing the work, what are some of the concerns that they encounter in doing their work? You see here, we have housing and employment. We didn't talk about this, but we know everyone, I believe on this call knows already that we already have a housing and employment subcommittees that are looking at that piece of the work. So we'll get to that point, but maybe the concern is that the mentors and peer support specialists aren't aware of the resources that are available, or maybe they're not aware of LRC. Maybe that's the solution, but can you share with us some of the concerns that your team is experiencing in the area of mentoring and peer support?
Yeah, we work quite when we work with people to help find housing when they leave the prison, if you will, or the jail or whatever institution they happen to be in. So we help them to find that. And there are a couple that I'm aware of. The Summit Church is one, and the Raleigh Dream Center is another that provides housing for people. They also provide food and so forth. What my group does is we provide practical application to help people mesh back in or re-enter into society in a relational way, and to help prepare them to find work. And then in addition to that, when they come out and when we teach outside the walls, we have a full mentoring program. We have about 12 or 13 people that come alongside people who need help in terms of re-entering into society, how to live, how to make critical decisions and so forth, critical thinking. That kind of thing, how to manage conflict in their personal lives. All that works right into number 6. And as well as helping people find work. And we do that by saying we partner with different groups, like, for example, some of the folks here in this organization. If we can, if there's people there where we need help, it'd be a great resource for us to send people to.
So maybe I missed it. What did you say was a specific issue that your staff encounters? I heard you share what your organization does, but I was looking for that specific issue in delivering. Is there one? There may not be. You may have it figured out, and that's the case. We need to know what you're doing.
We do. No, the issue, what we do is we provide mentoring. We come alongside people. That's what we do, to help people find work, to help people where to go. We prepare them for work. And that's a critical piece, because if they're not prepared to do that, Leonardo, they're going to fail.
Okay. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So is
You're
there
welcome.
anyone else that could share something that their team or they've encountered in the area of mentoring and peer support? Or are we satisfied with the list that we've come up with?
Marta, I don't, if this is, hey, everybody, this is Kim. I'm from IPMW. Since Jennifer, you said Jennifer was involved in the conversation.
Yeah, she was very she shared the issues. I recall that she shared that family reunification is an issue for females, and that women can't focus on themselves when
Yeah.
they have children. So that's definitely and actually number 4 was also her as well, because she shared what you guys had done in April and so forth. I don't want to.
No. That was really getting at, I was thinking about that one specific incident I'm sure she was focused on with number 5 there. This woman was so, she couldn't focus on anything but her son's addiction.
Mm.
And so, and to her own detriment. So I guess that might encompass it, but I would think there's also in my travels with Southlight, just addiction, being in active addiction or going back to that, and relational struggles, perhaps going back to a relationship that was either violent or just going back to the environments that they're
Toxic.
familiar with.
Okay.
I was in a
I
recent,
guess convincing them not to go back to those places, having some type of therapeutic interaction or encounter.
Okay.
Lenarda, I was in a meeting recently with where a group of peer support specialists were talking about the challenges for finding resources for clients who were involved with MAT or medically assisted treatment, and how they're limited resources that support them, where there are lots of recovery programs, but some will restrict what assistance they can get if it's an individual who's receiving MAT.
I'm sorry, Natalie. I was typing and trying to capture that as well. So would you paraphrase that for number 8? Or
I
was that a
guess-
solution? I'm sorry.
No, that was just a concern, as
Okay.
limited resources
Okay. Mm-hmm.
for individuals receiving MAT.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right.
I think there's also maybe just therapeutic services, because we have a young lady now who needs DBT, and as I understand it, their IPRS funds they no longer use IPRS funding for DBT.
And I'll say to everybody who doesn't know this, Lenarda is probably getting ready to pull out her badge, because she is the acronym police. And we in the last 2 minutes, we've probably thrown about 6 at her, and she's going, what?
Yeah. Give me that MAT again, Natalie.
Medically assisted therapy or treatment.
Okay. All right. Anything else did I capture what you said, Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And I took a shot at that DBT.
You said DBT. Okay, that was the acronym. Let me see, we got DBT. So is that something someone else knows what that acronym stands for? I'm gonna call Eric Johnson out. I bet he knows, or either James Ward.
It's dialectical behavioral therapy.
I'm sorry. I think, Eric, you answered it right, sir.
It's in the chat, Lenarda.
Okay. Okay, there we go. So
Okay.
that's DBT.
DBT.
So you got to know who knows. You got to know who your folks are.
Oh, yeah. EJ knows.
All
Mr.
right, all right.
Johnson knows.
I'm surrounded by the right folks. All right. Anything else? And again, we're just massaging this list, and then we'll look at what we can do, what this team can do, what's in our area of control, and this may be it. And so what we'll do next is look at bringing solutions. Anyone want to add anything else to this list?
Excuse me, Leonard, I'm really enjoying this session, so I'm listening intensely. But the number 6, 7, we help and we work in all those areas to help people do just exactly that.
Yeah.
To help, we do.
Good. We're going to get to the solutions, but first we're looking at the question here is what are the concerns that we
okay,
can
I got
address?
you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not at the solutions yet.
Okay, then I have a question then. In terms of convincing individuals, does that include education to how to make decisions? Is that part of that?
So I wouldn't limit it, but we can ask what Kim Stone was thinking.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah.
I
Number 7.
think it's just more, maybe it's more about helping the peer support specialists kind of enhancing their language around how to, sway folks from going back to familial, particularly family. We've got a young woman that's supposed to be coming out in the beginning of the year, and just about her entire family has been incarcerated and been in the drug sale business. So, and it's just, I think it's, maybe it's just.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand, because, and we do all of that, almost everything you have listed here.
So I was going to say, let's hash down, let's make sure we get the concerns before we jump, if you don't mind, before we jump to the solutions. We can talk about what agencies do what at the next piece of the work, if that's okay.
Sure, you bet. Okay. I was just trying to understand.
Okay. So let's, am I correct in saying, Kim, you're not limiting it, whatever that means, convincing, so providing support to the peer support specialist? Did you have some more that goes behind that?
Just making sure they have the resources, knowing what the solutions are, making sure that peer supports know have some good solutions for folks who might be prone to go back to violent or trauma relationships.
Is that okay? Ensure peer support specialists have resources to deliver the services.
It's great. That's perfect. Thank you.
So is there anything else in the area of a concern? We have 9 items here that we want to add to this list. Okay, so let's go, I'll tighten that up so we can see it. Let's go look at what we have here. We have housing and employment. That's something that the peer support, the peer and mentoring individuals encounter as an area that their clients experience, areas of concern for them. Transportation services, getting back and forth to work, needing basic needs, funds for legal fines. And so these are some of, I think 1 through 3 are more or less, I see this as more case management, but this is what I hear the peer support specialists or the mentors are some of the concerns that their clients are experiencing. I remember, as we said earlier, Jennifer Jackson said some of the peer support specialists, they need opportunities to get work experiences. And we have issues with families, females particularly reunifying once they come home. So we've added to that list, and now let's look at I know Norm's excited here. What can we do? So here's the question. How can this subcommittee help to resolve some of the issues? During the last meeting, I believe it was Natalie who mentioned Campbell University reentry circles and their work. We'll ask you, Natalie, to share a little bit again about, of course, we know about what they did, and then talk about the Horizons, Coastal Horizons program, our children's place for Coastal Horizons as well. Natalie?
So you want me to talk about the reentry circles in terms of what we did, our pilot project, or what they're looking to do right now?
So to help make this fit as a solution for, I'm thinking 1 and 2, address the concerns with family reunification. I think that's what you were saying and how that fits. That's just my thought.
Sure,
I'm pretty sure we're tracking on the same area, but just, revisit what Campbell does and say a little bit about what we know about Melissa Radcliffe. And we may not know all that we want to know. That might be an action step to find out how they can help, but just speak a little bit around that.
Sure. So the Campbell reentry circles were initially started within the prison setting. And the whole purpose was to assist individuals and their support network as they prepared for the transition home. So it was really a pre-planning process where support, including probation, can you guys hear me? Okay, where probation, their counselor within the facility, but also support that would be present and around them after the transition, were involved with understanding one another, understanding the journey, the barriers that come up, coming to some agreements about how they can support each other in their separate roles, because many of us on the call realize that it can be a challenge for the people who love someone to not enable while trying to help and support. That line can easily be blurred. And so the reentry circles really was about giving the support, what they needed, the tools that they needed to be supportive versus enabling, and to give individuals the tools they need to address barriers that they might face and how to ask for the help they need from their support. So the conversation we had was about, once an individual finishes that circle, well, let me backstep. Wake LRC actually piloted the reentry circle with post-release. So last year we had, I think, a 10-week series of reentry circles for individuals who had already been released and had not had any introduction to the reentry circle process while incarcerated. So these were individuals who were out in the community, already facing barriers, struggling, probably not otherwise engaged with any kind of counseling or outlet that gave them the emotional or moral support for what they were trying to accomplish. And so in this pilot program, we did the same thing. Campbell Restorative Justice Department did the same thing, provide access to those tools, work with them on problem solving and accountability, as well as with their support circle. What we thought about is how great it would be if the people who completed that circle had an opportunity to participate in a parenting reentry circle. So for those individuals who had gotten the tools from the reentry circle were parents, and they really engaged in that process, we could then connect with Ms. Radcliffe with the Children's Place to bring in the support around parenting and how that role looks different when you're returning and how they can approach that relationship in balance with their own challenges. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
You've got an awful lot of ground covered there. Natalie. You really do that. I commend you guys for doing that. You mentioned parenting. That's one of the other deals that we provide. We have 11-week session is what we do. And we cover, the only thing we don't cover in terms of what you covered is probation. We don't do that, but we do help them in the reentry process. We provide life skills education, and it covers all of this during the 11-week process that we teach, either outside or inside the prison walls. And it includes parenting, leadership, conflict management, communications, how do you communicate with people, and so forth. And then we have a person, we assign people to come alongside them. Once we do the educational piece, we have people assigned to them for 6 months to a year to come alongside them to help them through that very thing. And we have about, right now we have about 13 mentors, and they do that. And they have to know the program as well, and it covers all the stuff that you just talked about.
Yeah, and that is awesome. I think one of the differences in the circle is that the circle really looked at bringing in existing family support. So we understand that a lot of our participants may have burned bridges with their family. They may have already had the last chance. And so that circle gave an opportunity to bring in people that our participants are comfortable with, who want to be able to bring, who they want to bring into their circle, and teach them how to repair those relationships and bring accountability and demonstrate their commitment to change, and really work with them in a smaller setting where there wasn't something else on the other side of the coin. So for instance, when you participate in a parenting program, or you participate in the requirements that probation and parole may have placed upon you, there's another piece to that coin. There's something that probation is expecting for you to do. There's something that the parenting program is expecting you to do. But the sole purpose of this reentry circle is for you to be the guide, for the participant to be in control of repairing and mending and giving back to the person on the other side.
So Norm, give me the name of your organization. We can share that as a solution. And then I see we've got Melinda King's hand raised, so I want to acknowledge her as well. So what is the name of your organization?
Yes.
You mean mine?
Yes.
The organization is Life Skills Prison Ministry. But we work with people, justice-involved people, both inside and outside the walls, those that have been released. And because Natalie nailed a lot of stuff there that in fact, this whole crew does, all these people here with the issues that they do in terms of helping the community and individual family units. But it's Life Skills Prison Ministry. And I'd love to sit down and work with Natalie and anybody else that works in these particular areas with regard to education and mentoring. The problem that I run into a lot is that they lack the education in terms of how to reenter, in terms of how to restore those relationships. We get into leadership as well. I'd love to sit down and work with you guys.
You said education and something else, education and mentoring?
Yeah, it's a whole program. Okay. We can educate, and we can give them books to read, that kind of thing. But that just where the real diamond is, or the gold lies, is in the mentoring, the people who come alongside the people for a long period of time, not just 1 or 2 weeks, but somebody who comes alongside for 6 months to a year to help people work through those issues.
Okay, so we've got that up here. Let's go ahead and see. Melinda, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead, if you'll unmute and share what you're thinking.
Hi, so I just wanted to offer some support. I also work for Coastal Horizon Center.
Excellent.
Work for our Children's Place. I work for a separate component, but our Children's Place is in services program, which my program is as well. So I work with Melissa all the time. So I just wanted to reach in and offer some support, any help that you guys need in making contact with Melissa. I know Melissa has been doing a lot with the parenting program, which is a curriculum that was started initially at Carteret Correctional, was the first place where she conducted Parenting Inside Out with men in that prison. And it went really well. And so now they're trying to expand that out some. So she does have those parenting resources. She does a lot of workshops and things of that nature. So please let me know if you guys need any assistance with and I will be more than happy.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. I wrote that down. Natalie, you got that as well? We got a Coastal Horizon liaison. Great. Thank you, Melissa. So you'll see here on this list, thank you, Natalie, for sharing, for correcting me, or actually my numbers are off now. So I was able to clarify how you envision partnering Campbell's University program with our Children's Place of Coastal Horizons program. So you guys see it's 1-3, but I've pulled 2 out and make it 3. We'll fix the presentation and share that with you before it goes out. It'll be fixed. But before this team came back together, I did some research, and we found that in the area of legal documentation, specifically IDs and documentation, that NC Disability Rights, NCID project does some work around that. I don't know what they do, and that's going to be an ask for someone on this team. If someone is familiar with what they do, who they serve, and how to access those services, that might be a solution that we can provide to our mentors and peer support, or to anyone that would need that information. So we'll be asking for someone just to take that piece on, finding out what they do. And there may be some other resources out there that address the concern of, I think we said the issue was having identifications. Do you guys know of any other resources that provide support to get photo IDs or driver's license restoration, or even pay fines?
Yeah, no, check out Summit Church.
Okay.
I forget the pastor's name there, Tony.
Diana.
Yeah, Tony Diana. I know that they help to provide IDs and so forth to people.
Okay. I think it's spelled 2 M's or 2. I'll just spell it the right way. Okay. I think it's 2 M's in there, but we'll get that right. Okay. And then another idea that was considered, this is outside of the meeting, was developing a resource guide for our mentors and peer support specialists, because we talked about having our their clients encountering issues around employment and housing and transportation. So we know, many of us know, that there are resources out there. Maybe the peer support specialists aren't aware of it. Do you guys think developing a resource guide would be something that would address, maybe even, let me go back to this slide, some of the items, I'll say even looking at 1, 2, and 3. And I'm asking for your feedback. What are your thoughts? Are there other solutions?
Leonardo, I wonder if there's is it possible to reach out to the folks who do the peer support training, just to see if there's a way to kind of from the top down to get the resource guide, if we develop it, to get it into the stream of the training.
Oh, okay. Let's add that.
That's an excellent idea, Kim.
I'll just leave that there. Do we have any other ideas? I can go back to, I'll go back to the questions or the concerns. And I'd like for anyone to unmute and just chime in, share your thoughts, even if you don't work in this area.
Again, the Raleigh Dream Center, if you're familiar with it, they provide a lot of food and that kind of support for people, food and housing.
So, okay. Okay, let's say, I'll say you said food. Is that correct? The Raleigh Dream Center?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that sounds like something that would go on a resource guide.
Yes, ma'am.
So let me go back to this, and I'll ask everyone to unmute if you disagree. How do you feel about numbers 1, 2, and 3 being addressed? And it may be something else. They could all be addressed. Maybe even 8 and 9, and I'll hit 8 and 9 by having a resource guide with the service providers that work in these areas. We can have a resource guide that lists all the housing, transitional housing partners, or even landlords. Actually, we have to partner with housing on that because there's a housing subcommittee, and we would ask them to come up with part of this work, this list, do that part of the work, and resources for employment, not necessarily employers, but training opportunities. This would take some time to develop and see what that looks like. Of course, even there, we would partner with the employment subcommittee on that work. What do you think about that? And then I know transportation, we can provide, maybe, I don't know how we would meet that need. But I'm sure there's some resources that we could provide in the area of transportation. I see Kim Johnson's on the call.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know I work with Go Triangle, and we provide education in regards to all of the transit networks in the market. So not just Go Triangle's routes, but all of them, as well as support for carpooling, finding carpool rides, that type thing, van pools, finding seats in van pools. If you have an employer that has a large number, helping them to come up with van pool programs for their organization, as well as like emergency ride home programming, which will help if someone uses a way to get to work and they're not driving by themselves, and then for some reason they get stuck there, whether it is that they have unscheduled overtime, something happens to their ride back home, that type thing. As long as they're in the 3-county area, or they have to either live or work in Orange, Wake, or Durham County for the emergency ride home program, we would provide that support to them. So there are some options where we could help out some. So we're more than willing to help with the resource guide and make sure that you have the links and the contacts that you need to help help these people out. Yeah,
that's excellent. So look, just put it out there, and you got the right partner.
yeah, we're here to help you out. Yeah.
Excellent. So it sounds like, and again, if you don't agree, please unmute, or if you have, it's not even if you don't agree, if you have another idea to get this information to mentors and peer support, but we'll be, very, let's just note that it's not exclusive. This type of a tool would not just go to mentors and peer support. It would definitely go to the council. It would go, and we would ask you guys to share it. This isn't something that we would create overnight. This is something that I would go to Kim for her piece. I would be looking for everyone. Everyone would have a piece of this. I'd go to, we do this together. Like we'd go to Lakeisha George for the furniture piece. That's a resource. All the resources, we're not just going to limit this to housing, employment, transportation, and legal funds. If we're going to do something, we're going to do it thoroughly. But it would be something that's unique for our clients. There's something about it that it makes it a good fit for our clients.
Nikki, I have an observation.
Thank you.
My hand is dark, so you probably didn't.
Oh.
An observation around resource guides, and and I think those are always very easy kind of go to try to provide immediate information and for folks who are in need of services. But what we've been hearing in the community and what we know to be true is that oftentimes trying to navigate these systems can be very time consuming, and part of the intent behind having a kind of a coordinated system such as this council to work with these individuals was to try to reduce the traffic of having these individuals to go to 4, 5, or 6 different entities to get their services met, their needs met. And so that, again, handing folks, I'm sure would be some folks that would be able to take a guide and access those services as best as possible. Even for those who don't even have a lot of these limitations, still have problems accessing services just based on resources that are handed to them. So what I will offer is that part of what we had initially did with the support and help of Francis Bisbee at the time was we set up on the Wake Network of Care a separate page that's just for reentry, so that there are reentry services listed already there. So I would suggest that you go back and see what's there, update it, and then you can provide somebody with a link that can just take them right to that page, and then they can scroll up and down for some services that they may be needing, or for someone who's assisting these individuals, but I would hate to see us spend a whole lot of energy and time doing resource guides that, it's going to be very difficult to navigate at this particular point for folks who are really in need of services quickly and having to go to 5 and 6 different places to get it.
That's a great point. Anyone else have any feedback on that? And the other concern with the resource guide is it's as good as the date that it's provided. So that is a concern. Derek, you spoke in May. So what I'm hearing you say is that we need to use the resources that are already in place that are doing this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we're going to give them a resource guide, it should be a resource guide to at least either, a few entities that if they call, whatever they need, those things can be addressed right there. But if you're going to call me and then I'm going to send you somewhere else to get what you need, then that's a waste of time.
Okay. Anybody else? And if I'm not mistaken, there is a separate page on Wake Network of Care. Eric Johnson, can you confirm that for reentry? As I say, I thought so, yeah.
And Wake LRC was just added, remember?
Yes, we did. Yeah, I just, when we said separate, yeah, the word separate was throwing me off, but yes.
Well, separate from the other resources.
Yes.
And I would also add that NC Care 360 has added an indicator for agencies to identify themselves as working with justice involved, or at least that their resources are accessible. So
maybe in the areas of when we're talking about employment and housing and identification. Maybe are we saying that solution is just to make sure we are getting this messaging out to the mentors and the peer support to the trainers that that they can also find some of these solutions reasonably. We know that you just go into Wake Network of Care website and NC 360 Care's website isn't necessarily going to find you a house, but it's the starting point. So is it that we need to make sure we can help support marketing these tools that are already available? And I'm putting that out to the committee for feedback.
Leonardo, I agree with Derek. I think, you know, we have some things already in place with those online tools, both Wake Network of Care and NC Cares 360. It is something that the state is moving towards, of using NC Cares 360 for actually doing referrals. Wake Network of Care is more of a database of what's available out there, but you could actually do referrals in NC Cares 360. So, I mean, I feel like we need to jump on board on that, and not stick to kind of antiquated resource guides that change month to month or week to week. So that's just my opinion, but
Okay.
Leonardo, I would kind of piggyback on Derek and Eric and just say that maybe what we can do as a full council is invite NC Care 360 to the table to talk about how agencies can continue to enroll, because that is they're only as good as the agencies that join. And so the more agencies that provide resources that are present on that platform, the more access to their resources we have. And we did that right before COVID hit. They came and did a presentation at Tillery, actually. So you know that was before COVID. But they've also made some changes to their platform, because a lot of smaller agencies that learned about NC Care 360 thought, I don't have the capacity to use this tool. But they have now added a feature where you can be an agency that only makes referrals and doesn't receive referrals. And you can toggle between whether or not you can receive referrals or not. So for a smaller agency that doesn't have capacity, you could be listed there, right? And just use the platform to connect your customers, clients, or participants with the resources in the community and across the state.
Excellent. Anybody else want to add to this? So are we good with taking number 4 off? Or let me ask this question. Does anyone disagree with taking number 4 off? Develop a re-entry resource guide for mentors, peer support specialists, and get it to the peer support trainers. Oh, time goes by fast. I just realized it's 4:24.
Excuse me, Leonardo, what would be the role of the peer support trainers versus the where it's intended, where it's suggested to go to or recommended to do?
So this right here, and this is just my paraphrasing with Kim Stone's idea. We said that we would develop a resource guide for these mentors and peer support specialists, but Kim had a great idea. If we developed it, we should probably get it to the trainers, those that are training the peer support specialists. Did I answer your question? So that they can get it out to a larger group.
Partly, since you do what you do and you coordinate an awful lot of things, and as well as some of the other folks on the program today, I would think that if you have a resource guide, a high-level resource guide, that that would be somebody at a rather high level that can steer people to different segments of the group, wherever needs are needed. Like for what we do, we don't do everything. We don't provide what everybody does, but we have a very specific set of things that we do.
So let me say this: we can only do what what's within our purview. We don't have a high level someone to do this. And what I heard to steer individuals in any particular direction, it's gonna have to be automated. And I think that's what I heard Derek, Natalie, and Eric Johnson say, that what some of the concerns with the resource guide is that it's going to be dated. Their folk are already out here doing it. It's going to be dated as soon as it's done, because a phone number is going to change or an agency may not be around. So we have NC Cares 360, we have Wake Network of Care that are already doing the work. And so the question on the table was, are we okay with deleting this idea? And we only have 3 minutes. We got a few more things to get to. So is everyone okay with deleting number 4? And if you're not, speak up. If you're okay, you don't have to say anything.
So since I tossed it in, I'll comment on it. I don't disagree with not using our time to reinvent the wheel per se with the resource guide. If it's already in place and it's updated as it should be wherever it exists, then maybe the time and the investment should be on making sure that it gets out broadly.
Yes.
And that be our task.
I think that's what we're saying, because that's where I was going to go to next. And this won't get done today, but that's what we need to think about. How can we support making sure that our peer support specialists, our mentors, know about NC Cares 360? And I guess a next question, this would be for Derek Bird. You still on the, is this something, are we going over into case management? Matter of fact, I'll leave that there because I know that you got a peer support specialist and you have a case manager, and some of the things may overlap. So it's great for everyone to be informed. But maybe our strategy, I think we all said it's okay to pull this off and focus on maybe getting the information, the resources that are, or letting folk know about NC Cares 360 and Wake Network of Cares. Is that what we're all saying? Or most of us, the majority, not all.
So Leonardo, I think, maybe not develop a resource guide, but I think that maybe what this group can do is promote what's already out there. And then also, because this group tends to know others that are kind of doing the same stuff, of really just encouraging others to enter their information into these sites, so others can contact. Also, if we see anything in Wake Network of Care or NC Cares 360 that maybe is outdated, just to help the people that maintain that, so that everything in it's accurate. So I don't think abandoning the goal exactly, but maybe just kind of rewording it, of just promoting what's already there, if that makes sense.
Okay. I heard you say a couple things, and we're going to promote Wake Network of Cares, right? And or the resources that are already there.
Resource platforms that are already there.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly, Natalie. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then to help, NC Care 360 has higher level people who manage and monitor the accuracy of the information. But if we see something that's outdated, if we're part of that network, we also have that contact information, then we would also let them know that, hey, you might want to check with Lenarda Williamson. I don't think she does that anymore, right? So that we have a sense of responsibility to help them keep it current if we see something that's different. The other benefit of that NC Care 360 is you get to make referrals. You could receive referrals if you wanted to, but also there is someone with NC Care 360 who's monitoring whether or not those referrals are getting picked up. So that follow up and follow through with referrals is a big piece that agencies haven't been able to have the benefit of previously. So I think having NC Care 360 come to our council meeting and really do a presentation for everyone and give people an opportunity to invite other people within your network, like Eric mentioned. You tell someone and somebody else tells someone, to come to the presentation so they can learn.
Sounds good to me. Does anyone else have anything to add? It is now 4:31, and I apologize for holding you over. But what I can do, I want to make this real. Do we have anything? Are we okay with what we have? Do we want to continue the conversation? So what we can do is, I like the idea Natalie shared, inviting NC Cares 360 to present at the council meeting, and sharing that platform. We can also promote the other, the 2 resource platforms that are already available. And what we can do, or what I can do, is send an email out, which the next large email out to the council is encouraging our partners to go and update their information, because that's something you do on your own at Wake Network of Cares. That takes care of 7 and 8. I think we will have to come back to priority area number 2. We don't have time, but those are things that I think I know that we can do between now and the next subcommittee meeting. And I think we'll have to come back, and we'll come back and have more discussion around these other pieces. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
All right. Again, I apologize. Announcements. If you hold tight, I know it's probably going to be 3 more minutes. If you have any announcements, please unmute yourself. Make those announcements now.
I think Mr. Norman is saying something.
Unmute yourself.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to speak and participate in the program with you folks today, and to put forth what we do to help people do re-enter society and so forth.
Okay.
Be glad to work with anybody who wants to be involved with that.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything else to share? Oh, I hear you, James.
Hi, Leonardo. Thank you. Sigma Health Services has IPR's funding, state funding for adult substance abuse treatment. And so basically, if they don't have insurance, we should be able to fill out an application and possibly be able to serve them.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, who is that?
That's Sigma Health Services.
Sigma. Thank you.
Kim, do you have James Ford or Sigma's information? It's on that list that was shared yesterday, and if not, I can connect you after the meeting in the email.
I'll look for it. Thank you so much.
Anyone else have any other announcements? All right. So really quickly, our next steps, our criminal expungement session is, the next one is October 7th. That's on a Thursday. Keep that in mind, because in November, that's going to change to November 2nd. That's a Tuesday. So just know that it had to change because of the holidays. As a matter of fact, the November and the December subcommittee meetings will also change as well. So our next council meeting is October 28th. You'll get that invite for that. And as I just said, in November, we bumped up our November subcommittee meeting to the 18th. That's the 3rd Thursday, and that's because of the holiday. You'll get a notice too, as far as the December council meeting, the large group, that's also bumped up a week because of the holiday. Thank you very much. I do apologize for holding you over. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you have a wonderful, successful rest of your week.
Thank you.